Hey, what you reading?
Oh, just something about an event where people were asked not to clap afterwards because it could trigger anxiety.
Well, that seems like a pretty good idea because clapping can be pretty loud. Did they replace clapping with any other gesture, like cheering?
People were asked to use jazz hands instead. It seems like a bit much, doesn't it? Clapping may be loud, but that's part of its purpose. The louder the clapping, the higher the audience praise and excitement. How can this kind of measure be used with jazz hands? It seems like a lot of widely accepted and common ways of approaching art are being censored for the sake of the few who it makes uncomfortable or anxious.
Well, shouldn't we take people's concerns into account? I mean, we are making progress in a lot of ways because of how people have spoken up about the things that make their lives harder. What about all the ramps and elevators being added to certain buildings to make them easier for handicapped people to access? Isn't that a sign that we should always be looking out for the minority?
I'm all for people having the option to take the elevator, but we shouldn't be offended by people who take the stairs. Besides, being made anxious by clapping seems like it could be overcome in most cases with some personal effort, or maybe a therapist if it's a serious case. It's not really comparable to people who have to use wheelchairs.
Alright, but I just think that when something disturbs people, we should be willing to adapt and help them out.
In many cases that could be a good idea, but in many others it could be very over the top. Some of the censorship and significant accommodations that are taking place these days seem to put the comfort of the few over the rights of many. For example, the so-called regressive left seems to be mirroring the religious far right in its call for censorship of sexual or seemingly sexual art. At Wellesley College, for instance, there were many people who were offended by a statue of a man in his underwear. The image reminded them of sexual assault and male privilege. Doesn't this seem a bit like how conservative Christians have sometimes been offended by and even called for censorship of statues or other kinds of art? The intentions of the artist and the piece are often skipped over, and the protesters jump straight to how it makes them feel and call for a ban. I'm not saying we should support something just because it's controversial or edgy, but if unique and strange art can't be shown on college campuses for fear that it will be censored, where could such themes actually be explored? College is supposed to be a place to learn about all kinds of ideas, even ones we disagree with.
I wish college didn't cost as much as it does.
Yeah, but that's a different subject.